Hey everybody, how's it going? B Temple back again, and it seems like it's been quite some time since I've done a review, and I guess probably because it has been. It's been several months, I guess, and this will be the first review I've done since we've moved into a new home. It's always a busy time, of course, moving and trying to find some extra time, things like that. And this will also be the first review I've done with a new phone as well, so it's interesting, I guess, to see if there's going to end up being any, video quality changes or audio quality changes or some sort of glitches or errors that I'm not quite used to yet with a new setup. But I finally got some time to get a review done, and it's been quite some time. I was really looking forward to this one. So what we've got in front of us here is what's called a meal flight feeding individual. It looks like a standard brown bag MRE, but it actually isn't. It's aside from literally this change here, that's pretty much the only difference between it and a brown bag and MRE. That one should say meal ready or something like that. Meal ready to eat individual, something along those lines. But this is meal flight feeding. So the purpose of this was much like one of the older style sort of in-flight meals, was that this would be a ration that some member of the American Armed Forces could eat while on a flight. But there would be some component changes compared to normal MREs. Namely, they wouldn't get beans and tomato sauce with the buildup of gas that one would get from eating something like beans, or there are other items, obviously, that cause one to get gas. They really wouldn't want that with all the atmospheric changes from you flying. That would actually, if one were to get bloated because of something like that, you'd actually feel more pain, more discomfort than you normally would. So they made a stylistic change and a component change to some of the MRE menus, and this is where we get meal flight feeding individual. I think this is from around 1986 or so. So we're talking about the somewhat early period of the beginning of ready-to-eat rations. And this particular menu, I think the only other person who's reviewed this one before was Nathan. There's been a few other people who've reviewed this, Old Smoky, Dub C, I believe, and I can't quite remember if there's been anybody else. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out. So it looks just like I said, like a regular brown bag MRE. This one here does have a little bit of a compromised pouch where the plastic's actually gotten like a little bit hard. That may have had an effect on the items inside, but I guess we'll open this up and have a look. And I thought I would mention that since this is Remembrance Day here in Canada, and I can't remember the exact wording of the holiday they have in the United States on November 11th, if it's Veterans Day or something like that. But I thought this was like a fairly apt kind of time to do another review again. So, looking at some of our components. Ooh, that's a bad sign. We got ourselves a beef dice with gravy. And there's no date code to be seen. But yeah, that stain's not good. I don't think it's actually coming from this particular main. It's probably coming from another item inside. We've got a grape jelly, which has got some stickiness on it. I think this may be where that leakage is from, although I can't quite tell exactly where it would be coming out of. There doesn't seem to be like an obvious pinhole or anything. But yeah, so we got ourselves a grape jelly. We've got a brownie chocolate covered, and this one actually is brownies pluralized. So instead of one larger one, it's two sort of smaller ones stacked together. Got ourselves our standard MRE crackers. Got our MCI spoon. You can see the plastic for this is just sort of disintegrated over time. We've got a freeze-dried pears. Doesn't seem to be too bad, actually. We got a date code on this of, looks like B059. It could be 8059, but just not stamped very well, which would be 1988, 59th day. But I don't know if that's actually the case or not. Got ourselves a cocoa beverage powder, type 1 fortified, and we do have a code down here, which makes it seem like 6098, so the 98th day of 1986. That, to me, seems like it's probably a better indication of the age of this thing. So I think some of the other reviews I've seen of these have all been either 1986 or 87, so it's, you know, a good inference to make. They've got a little pouch stand for our main meal. And we've got our accessory packet. We've got ourselves our green, I guess, spearmint gum. A coffee instant type 1 and a cream substitute, dry, non-dairy. And we've got an iodized salt, sugar, and a toilet paper. So, this is everything that you get in a meal flight feeding individual. Obviously doesn't look a whole lot different from what an MRE from that time frame would be. Just that they've gotten rid of what possibly may have been a bean component that would have come with this menu. And it seems like they've probably subbed that out for, I don't know exactly what, because I think maybe it's one of the, it's either the pears or the brownies, I guess. They've added in like a second item, I suppose. That's the best way to put it. So yeah, we'll, I don't really know what the quality of this is going to be like, but I'll heat up the beef dice with gravy and do some mixing up of the cocoa beverage batter. As anyone knows who watches my reviews, I don't drink coffee, so I'm not going to mix up the coffee. But it is coffee instant type 1. It seems to be in good shape, so some lucky person may end up with that. But yeah, we'll mix up the cocoa beverage batter, see if it's good, and we'll start trying everything out. All right, everyone. So this is going to be, I think, a pretty quick review of the food components that we have here, namely because this main pouch looks horribly delaminated, and when I did open it, doesn't look that bad, but oh my god, it smells. At first it had no smell whatsoever, which was kind of off-putting, and then really came forward that rancid, but also old books kind of smell. And sometimes you get that from dry food products, but when you get that from wet food products, that's something that you really want to try to steer clear of. So yeah, our grape jelly looks black and smells like it's slightly fermented, but also rancid. So that's yeah, that's not good. So we don't have a whole lot to go through. The hot cocoa beverage powder actually seems okay. Doesn't smell too bad. The freeze-dried pears don't seem too bad. The brownie looked like it was perfect on the outside. The packaging was great, but it was actually delaminated from the inside with like a weird yellowish discoloration everywhere. Almost looked like sort of fat separation. So yeah, that doesn't bode well. But one high note is that we have salted MRE crackers, which is something that's always a massive plus. So I will at least try one of those. Let's just give one of our plain MRE crackers a try. See if these stood up to the test of time. Ah, yeah, that's bad. It's bad when even the crackers aren't very good. Let's give a little bite of our pears and see how these turned out. It's not too bad. You just let it sit in your mouth and it kind of just gradually dissolves away, and you get that sort of canned pears kind of flavor. But it also does have just that sort of old food mix to it. I guess because the packaging of the main pouch itself getting compromised, and then I think the grape jelly getting compromised, that eventually over time led to, I guess, a number of these other items losing whatever goodness they may have had. Let's have a look at our chocolate-covered brownie. I mean, it doesn't look that bad. It does have some sort of weird white discoloration in a few places. It almost looks like sort of crystallized sugar. But anyway, I might try to give this a little nibble and see what it's all about. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm not going to bring that back because I had to throw that out. That crumbled in my mouth when I took a bite as if I was eating like a cookie, but a brownie's not supposed to be. A chocolate-covered brownie is not supposed to crumble like that. So yeah, that was basically straight up sawdust inside, and not good tasting sawdust. So yeah, this has been an absolute train wreck, but we will possibly give our hot cocoa a try. The one moderately okay thing in the entire ration that I guess didn't get overly compromised, you can tell it's old, obviously. It is from 1986. So yeah, we're talking, 36 years ago. So yeah, it's just really not that great. It didn't want to mix very well, even with hot water. So yeah, but it is actually drinkable. It doesn't make me feel like I'll get sick drinking some of it, while most of this made me feel like I would probably get sick if I ingested too much of it. So yeah, so this has been not much of a review. This sort of thing happens from time to time when you try out some vintage stuff, but this has been a review of menu number 8, beef dice with gravy from a meal flight feeding individual, a variation of the MRE for United States Armed Forces in the 1980s. So yeah, this has been one of those kind of reviews that you don't really enjoy doing, but it's still something that I like to try to do to chronicle these older items that don't get seen very often, and you try to hope that maybe you roll the dice and you get something that's actually somewhat sensible or somewhat edible. This was not one of those times. Alright guys, it's been a lot of fun trying to get another review done. It's been a while, so I'm happy to sort of dive back into it again after several months, and hopefully try to get another review done as soon as I possibly can. So like I always try to say, thanks a lot for stopping by, and have a good one.